Hey there, how's it going, everybody? That's right, if you can hear my voice, it is another magical episode of the Coven podcast. So tonight, we're talking about a really fun subject. It might bring up memories from your 14-year-old self, surreptitiously reading /fan fiction on your phone and being like, I'm texting someone, Mom, I promise. I know, I did that. So I am your host, Daily Wilhelm, Witch of the Wavelengths. Joining me today is the lovely
Matthew Yap, Witch of the Speed Force.
And the wonderful
Sarah James, your sorceress of the sound waves.
Oh my gosh, I love the names. I love the names, guys.
Cute.
So,
dream team right here.
Yeah.
What a squad.
I love it. So, there's an issue with /. We've talked about fan fiction before on this podcast and what that can do positively and negatively for those who participate in it and for those who have created the original source material. But what we don't consider here is that in the end, there's this clear theme of fetishization of gay men.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the first time we really encounter this is with the stereotypical, oh my God, I really want a gay best friend. Because
Don't we all?
Yeah, we can just go shopping together and talk about boys. And it's like a girlfriend, but better. Because they're male.
Yeah.
What? So,
Kind of thing.
I have so many feels about gay best friending.
Yeah.
But I feel like whatever stereotypes there are, they don't exist in real life.
Right.
Because it is just a stereotype. It's equating queerness with femininity. Because it's like, okay, so this person is gay. That means that they're feminine?
Mm-hmm.
Inherently.
Yeah.
One of my experiences with that as a gay man is one of my friends who I'd known for years, like so long, and we basically connected over like our mutual emo-ness, but she found out I was gay, and suddenly she kept asking me to go shopping with her, which is like the classic gay best friend, go shopping with me. And finally one time I went, and she kept asking me all these things, and I was like, I don't know, I think black's a nice color. And like she was like, you're supposed to know this, and I was like, I don't think so.
Wow.
You didn't pass the requirements before you became gay. You have to pass a test.
Yeah, I know. I rushed the process along. I didn't learn.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, I hate that to a point. I almost fall into the stereotype because one of my best friends from back home is my friend Jalen, and he's gay.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, the fact that he's gay has nothing to do with the base of our friendship. I don't look at him as like, oh, he's my gay best friend. Like, that's not, I'm like, he's just one of my best friends because we can consistently rant to each other, and we know that, like, if one of us is angry about something, that the other one will be there to vent to. And, like, I've never once asked him to go shopping with me because, one, I hate shopping.
It's awful.
I do not like going outside to shopping, but, like, we'll do sassy photo shoots with each other because we both like posing in front of a camera and taking pictures. Like, that's the extent of, like, weird things that we do. The kid's more into makeup than I am, and that's, like, you guys know me and how much I like makeup. And it's, like, that's, I don't know, that's the points of our friendship, but, like, the fact that he's, I don't know, I don't look at Jalen and be like, oh, he's my gay best friend. I'm like,
It's
he's
just
my friend Jalen.
It's kind of like how I'm not like, oh, this is Daly, my white friend. Like, it's just once you have a gay friend, if they fall into those things that are like the gay stereotypes, that's fine. But if you're like me and you've lost a lot of people because suddenly they view you as a different like category of friend, you're more of like a purse than a person. Like, it's a problem.
Yeah. Get that on a t-shirt. More purse than person. That's a slogan.
I love that.
I just started the campaign, guys.
That's the title of this episode now. Definitely. But yeah, it's because it's like, why is that a lesser level of stereotyping than like, I'm going out with my black friend? You wouldn't say that. There's like that moment of what? Or like, I'm going to have brunch with my Jewish friend. It's like, why are you telling me these qualifying factors? Whereas it's kind of normalized to be, for women at least, to be like, I'm going out for brunch with my gay best friend.
Maybe it's the like, because if you said you're going out to lunch with a guy, the implication automatically is that it's romantic, and so like you have to separate like, but he's gay though. So like there's no, I don't know, just to make that clear, I don't see why that's necessary, But
Yeah, because that is true. You definitely wouldn't hear a guy
People would
say,
jump to
I'm
that.
going out to
No,
brunch with my
my
gay
gay best
friend.
friend.
And it's like, oh, good. Is it date? Is it date? Because
Yeah.
that communicates to me that's a date.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like a reverse no homo. It's like it is homo. Like, don't worry about him.
no.
Actually homo. But, yeah, it's just like, it spreads stereotypes, like claiming the gay best friend, because then all that does is conjure certain images that fit into that single box. And queer people are many things. They're not, the fact that they're queer isn't their lone identifying factor.
I'm more emo than gay.
Yeah, there you go. There's different things within that box that you exist in, but
Right.
think outside of the box. I don't know. But there is the point of like, why does this happen? Why do women specifically want gay best friends? Why don't they just want more friends who practice feminine things?
Right.
Because that's what gay best friends are then associated with: shopping, brunch, mimosas. Although everyone should
should like
yeah,
mimosas.
everyone should be able to enjoy that equally. But so I had like a scholarly, I'm using air quotes here for podcast listeners, article about why women might be attracted to gay men in their companionship. And some of the reasons make sense. Like that relationship doesn't carry the threat of sexual tension. There's no point where it's going to be like, oh my gosh, this guy is in the friend zone, and he's going to get bitter about that and later ask for nudes and get angry and say that, but I was a nice guy, I was your friend, because that's the thing that exists in
That
this
is a
I
society.
send nudes to all my friends.
Regardless.
I mean, that's just a
My
baseline of friendship
acquaintances.
now.
It's,
Yeah.
it's more courtesy than anything.
Yeah. But so that makes sense. You never are going to have to worry about like one of us is going to try to make a move on the other one. Straight women, this is quoting, straight women love gay men because closeness with gay men provides a window into how the minds of men work, something that women want to know as they navigate dating waters in their straight male peers. It's like, you can have straight male friends as well,
Exactly.
Yeah.
but
Well,
then there
that's
could be
the-
sexual tension.
There are so many instances of like that guys and girls just can't be friends. Like heterosexual women and heterosexual men, they're not allowed to be friends because
Right.
it's like automatically there's sexual tension there. And I'm like, first of all, that's a bold-faced lie because I have plenty of guy friends. I have more guy friends than girlfriends,
Yep.
honestly, because girls are dramatic and guys can be dramatic too, but
We sure are.
but I don't know. Like that's just how I've been my entire life. Not all my cousins, but the majority of my cousins are guys. Like, and I was really close with my cousins growing up. So that's just like, and I'm good friends with all my cousins now. So that's just since I was a kid, that's how I equated friendship. Whereas like as far as the females out of me and my cousins is myself, my sister, and my cousin Laura, and we're outnumbered 3-5.
Yeah.
So like there was a lot of testosterone in my vicinity growing up, and that's just like I always had good time with my cousins, so that's how I equated friendship.
Yeah.
But there's like I don't know, there's that notion that guys and girls can't be friends. So it's like if you're a girl and you have a guy friend, it's just easier if he's gay.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like convenient.
Yeah,
Because then you don't have to worry about anything.
it's convenient for you as the girl versus convenient for
For them,
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
The thing from the article and kind of going off that, I like that he talked about a lot of times women use gay men to try and understand the male mind. Because I've had a lot of times where girls are like, well, from a guy's perspective, like, what is this? And I'm like, I don't know how he thinks. Like, it's just like, it makes sense to, like, want to see what a man would think about something. But then at the same time, you feel like they're, I guess, on your side, sort of.
Right.
Like they get it because they're also into men, I guess, but like they still think the way men
a
are
man
talking
would.
about.
Right. Right.
That's interesting.
It's just kind of based in we're all stuck in our gender, apparently.
Yeah.
We are like very rigidly
All of
have to
this
stick to this.
completely relies on gender roles.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
I'm really guilty of it. Like I kind of like you. I get along with guys a lot better because like I know in my mind it's stupid, but like I'm like I don't know what girls think about. Like, do I bring up flowers? Like, what do I say? Like,
Right.
And like obviously that's stupid, and I've grown out of that. But especially like in my childhood, like because I grew up in a place that had such strict gender rules, it was really hard for me to try to understand women.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I had a gay best friend in high school, but then I realized that people go beyond their genders and people can be mean and terrible either way. Shout out to him.
Hey.
But
No, I'm kind of in the same boat. One of my best friends in high school was gay, and we were really close. And then, he kind of stabbed me in the back a little bit.
yeah.
I have plenty of guy friends across, a variety of sexualities. So, I don't understand. I get the appeal of the gay best friend. But at the same time, I'm like, shouldn't you be friends with people based on their personality and shared interests, regardless of their
No,
sexuality?
who told you that?
Yeah, what?
Isn't that
no.
a thing?
No. Yeah, essentially everything that we've been talking about only exists because people have this thought that they are trapped in their gender. They have to do things a certain way, and they're also trapped in their own sexuality and have to do
Right.
things a certain way. And it's like everything's a spectrum. We are free to be who we want to be for the most part. We want to be anyway. But yeah. So I agreed with some of the points of why this may be in this article, but this article got weird real
Yeah.
fast.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
Okay.
Here we go.
So,
Brace yourselves.
So in Psychology Today, Seth Meyers, which I thought was weird, Seth Meyers, who has degree in psychology, a doctorate degree, I do believe, which is equally worrying, said, finally, straight women love gay men because they are emotionally attracted to the fearlessness and lack of self-consciousness in gay men. In general, gay men, and gay women too, tend to be more fearless than their straight counterparts, particularly straight men, because they've usually experienced bullying and prejudice because of their sexual orientation, and these experiences fortify gay men with thicker skin. As out adults, gay men usually learn to accept themselves and stop trying so hard to win the approval and acceptance of others.
Can we just...
Well,
Wait a
Mr.
second.
Myers.
Let him have it.
Doctor!
Dr. Myers. Hi, gay man here. Super insecure. You're right on the money with the whole bullying thing, but all I spend my time doing is seeking the approval of others. I feel like being gay actually makes you more insecure. I know for a fact that I love show tunes, and there's a lot of things like that that are stereotypical gay things that I'm afraid to bring up because I'm oh no, they're gonna hate me because I'm gayer than I'm meaning to be.
More gay than before.
I became extra gay, and they're gonna be angry about it. That just it doesn't make sense what he's going for there.
It makes no sense. Even he's stereotyping in more ways than one. In that sense that gay men are more fearless than straight men.
Right.
Because I think probably one of the most fearless things that can exist is a white straight man.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Nothing stands in their way.
The world is their oyster.
How is a gay man more fearless, more of a go-getter than just socially speaking? Because there are so many other obstacles for a gay individual, anyone who's not in the heteronormative, to jump over, that it's that makes them more fearless because they were abused. That makes no sense.
That's kind of the fetishization of abuse then.
Yeah.
It's
Why is
it'll
that-
make you stronger.
It makes you so good.
Just work through it and you'll be a better person by the end. No? That means you're gonna grow up with severe psychological damages.
Right.
Mr. PhD?
Yeah.
Come on.
Really?
He is definitely going for the stereotype of the gay. Yes, Gaga, you can do anything. Go for it. That's what he's picturing here, and
Yeah.
it's not it's a reality for some
Not
people, but
every-
not for a lot.
Not every gay guy is a fierce drag queen.
Yeah.
I can see it.
That'd be cool though, wouldn't it?
You're talking the guys who do drag, RuPaul is a pretty fearless
so
individual.
Yeah.
Because he's fierce as all get out, both dressed in complete drag and as himself. But not every gay man is RuPaul.
Yeah. Even individuals like RuPaul, I don't think we can make assumptions into their person that
Exactly.
maybe RuPaul is insecure sometimes
Right.
because we're all human
There have been
and we're all
plenty of queens on
insecure.
Drag Race that have come forward saying all the hate they've had to deal
They
with.
just,
in their
break
entire
down.
life.
They
That's
feel
every
her.
freaking season there are queens talking about that. We can't. That's not how it works.
No. Yeah. So I don't know what happened, Dr. Myers.
You were doing so
your
well.
You were doing so well. It all made sense.
For a second,
And then I don't know what happened. So maybe Dr. Myers needs to read some slash fiction because
I think Dr.
even
Myers needs a gay best friend.
one or the other. So if women are unable to obtain a gay best friend, or they do and they want more, they want to participate more in gay culture, oftentimes one can turn to slash fan fiction. So some background, slash fan fiction, specifically slash, I think it originated with you put like the name of one character slash the name of the other character, and that's your pairing. That's who you're wanting to get together to kiss each other, to do whatever you want. You as the author have
that power.
Ultimate power, yeah. But primarily, slash is written to be read by women, and primarily slash is male on male. There are examples of like femme slash, but it has to have its own word to be assumed that it's not two guys going at it. So I read a Mary Sue article that helped to explain this very well. To many people, it often seems that women in the slash community have decided that gay sex is always sexier, that queer is always cute, and that we can take ownership of the gay male experience by writing about it and reading each other's writing. I have some feelings about this.
So do I.
As someone who has participated in the community of writing slash fiction, I definitely think this is true of people who subscribe to slash fiction and make that a big part of their lives. Essentially, everything is subject to be turned into a ship. Everything is subject to be turned into a gay ship, specifically. At the slightest moment of maybe sexual tension. Characters don't even have to ever meet each other for them to be...
You're so right.
Yeah, they really don't.
From completely different series that are under the same franchise. Like,
But wouldn't they go so well together?
It's just so cute.
Or even if they don't. But the thing with this is that it's fetishized to the point that it is the best. It is the only. There's no flaws with it.
Right.
When people are still human, even characters are human to an extent. They're written to be that way, at least.
It's the whole point.
Right.
Of them.
But then that bleeds over into reality, and like when a shipper or a slash fan spots an actual male gay couple in the wild, then they're like, squee. And that's not appropriate outside of the internet? Yeah. I didn't understand it for a very long time why this might be. But delving into the culture a bit more explains it. So thoughts on women who squee at men touching lips?
I think it's gross. And it's kind of the problem we've had this whole time is that it's like, it's taking a normal person and fetishizing them into something completely different. And a big problem I have with it is that, like, men should be able to be friends and affectionate, like, without having it turned around into, like, a gay thing. It's kind of like you said, that, like, you see men interacting in public and you're like, oh, my God. Like, my best friend and I, his name's Austin, closest friend. But, like, one time we were, like, we hugged in public. And it was in high school, and a random girl in the hallway screamed, "Oh my God, I ship it!" And I'm just like, really?
Wow.
Can I hug my friend?
Wow, that's cringy.
It really was. And of course, she was like the freshman with like the cat ears. Like,
oh no.
I was like, oh, sweetie.
Oh no, honey, she had a hard 4 years.
She sure did.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There's a part of me that, like, is 100% like, I'm a part of this culture, and
right.
I hate to admit that, but like, there was a video that went up on Superfruit's channel, which is Scott Hoying and Mitch Grassi from Pentatonics. They have their own YouTube channel, and I love Pentatonics and I love the Superfruit channel, and they did like a La La Land montage situation, like a whole medley of the songs, and it opens with like Scott and Mitch making out, and there was a part of me that freaked out because, like, I don't necessarily ship Skomish. I think they're amazing as best friends,
Right.
but like there's always a part of like the Pentatonics fan base that has been like, but wouldn't Scott and Mitch be perfect together? So like when it finally happened, and they've been teasing stuff like this for years, when they finally kissed, everyone was like, oh my gosh, it's legit, like ship confirmed. And I'm like,
Are they
"No."
legit now?
No, they're not. They're not. See,
See, there's
maybe-
disappointment.
Yeah. Listen, guys, I love gay men too. Trust me.
And it's like, I hate that was like, why was that my reaction? Like, as seeing these two guys who have been best friends for the majority of their lives since they were like 10 years old. Like, why? I don't know. It's weird that I was so happy that this had happened.
Right.
Yeah. There should be like the level of like happiness for like representation when it happens and being like, oh, that's great. I'm really happy. Or I particularly like this couple because they work, like because they're an actual couple. Like even maybe I would go so far as to say, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong, but like ships that are like more plausible but haven't happened because mainstream television or mainstream movies.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, they'd be perfect for each other. If one of the characters was female, they would probably be together. I think it's okay to go to a point and being like, that's a great relationship. I'm
with
happy
that.
for them.
A perfect example is Legend of Korra, which in the end ended up becoming canon. But people for so long
Shipped.
Korra and Asami, which people loved it. They really were a super nice couple because it was Nickelodeon and like it's just kind of a risque thing. But in the end, it ended up becoming canon, so people were really satisfied. But just because people could see the potential there, it wasn't necessarily like fetishizing them because it's two women in love. It's just people thought it was like a nice thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it worked. It was written so that it would work versus something like Destiel where it's written
as the two are complete. Listen, I'm a big fan of Supernatural, okay? And I have my opinions about Destiel. I personally don't ship Destiel because, one, angels don't have reproductive organs. So
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's a thing. So, like, I don't, like, how...
could their
Cass has
hearts
been-
be for each other?
I don't know.
Their
And, like,
spirits, their souls.
it's both of the Winchester brothers are womanizers
Yeah.
at their core.
Yeah.
The boys have had a lot of sex. Now, my roommate has the argument, and I'll agree with her, that if they made Dean bi, I probably wouldn't be mad about it.
Yeah. Just because he's
I don't think
so...
they will. First of all, no relationship is feasible for Sam and Dean Winchester, so
No.
like, just end it there. But like, what gets me really upset is that like people can ship Destiel, and that's fine, and I get it because honestly, at this point in the series, if Dean were to ever have a relationship, why not make it Castiel because they've already been so close and like they're essentially. But here's the thing: they're essentially brothers at this point, but like best friends, whatever. If you ship Wincest, you're a monster. Stop it. Like,
Oh my god.
That's
Don't
one of the
do
few,
that.
that is one of the few things I blacklist on
Yeah.
Tumblr. Like,
You-
I don't need to see that.
You
Yeah.
can't do that. Like, stop. But it's the people who force those same ships onto the actors. Like, no, that's not okay. Go ahead, fly your Destiel flag. But if you're shipping cockles, like, calm down because Jensen is happily married and has 3 gorgeous children. Misha's happily married and has 2 gorgeous children. Like, people send Danielle, Jensen's wife, hate mail
Yeah.
because she's married to Jensen Ackles instead of Misha Collins. That's not okay.
No.
Like,
No.
forcing your fetish of 2 gay men. It's one thing if it's fictional characters, but forcing that fetish onto actual humans, like, stop, please. Oh my gosh, it just bothers me so much.
Yeah. Real person slash has always been something really weird to me because it's like they could find this. They could see. Oftentimes they are shown this
There's a
Yeah.
by
bunch of
fans
Skomish
or other
slash.
people. Yeah.
Like, that exists. There's also Joshler fanfiction for 21 Pilots.
Yeah.
Like, people write fanfiction about Tyler and Josh. Tyler's married. They're both straight. Like,
Apparently the
No.
biggest ship in existence in the fleet of many ships in the armada, if you will, the largest of even fictional characters is Larry, Harry Styles, and I don't know his last name, Louis Tomlinson.
Tomlin? Yes.
Something like that.
Yeah,
are you kidding me?
yeah. Admittedly, a big part of it is that it's like young girls, girls who are taking to Wattpad instead of like fanfiction.net or AO3 because Wattpad is super accessible for tiny children.
Oh yeah.
But
We all got
like
our start on
it
the
is
I
so
got my start at the Wattpad.
Oh my gosh, I remember those days. But it's so significant that there was like an event when it was Louis announced that he was having a baby, or that people were like, my ship is dead, I am dead, everything around me is dead, the world ceases to exist.
People were like sending out like all these theories about like how the baby wasn't even really his and the record company was still like forcing them to pretend, and like they were this like star-crossed lovers who the record company wouldn't let them be gay. And I'm like, no, guys, they're straight. Just accept their
If there's any logic, then the record company would be like, yes, that sells.
Right.
Look at all this fan fiction.
I feel like it's almost like we're the like disapproving parents who don't want their kids to be gay, except we don't want our kids to be straight. Like we're not letting it happen.
Yeah. It's back to that Mary Sue article. I thought it was really we don't need to act like homosexuality is a joke or like gay men are our puppies. We don't need to force our way into our friends' bedrooms to the point that we're like fetishizing that it's like, well, it makes me happy, so that's how I want it to be. And it's like that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. Your happiness doesn't matter. This is like people, and if there's actually gay people, they don't need you to fawn over them. Yeah. Especially if they're in a relationship, they have someone else to fawn over them and do the same with the other person.
And if you're really supportive of a musician or an actor or any celebrity, like if you really care about them and are supportive of them, then shouldn't you be happy when they find someone?
When they're happy, yeah.
Like, you mentioned earlier, Matt, like people send Sarah Yuri hate
all the time.
Oh my
and
gosh,
it's like,
no.
I'm like, if you're a fan of Panic and if you support Brendan and Sarah are very, very happy
so
together.
good
Like they are so in love. Like, why would you, if you support Brendan, like, you should also be supporting Sarah. If you don't support Sarah, like, stop calling yourself a Panic fan.
No, she's a gem. And even because, like, Brendan Urie is bisexual, and so, like, young emo Matt Yap wanted nothing more than Ryan Ross and Brendan Urie together. Because I could, like, see myself. I was like, oh, it's like me, my hero. But, like, when he got with Sarah, I was like, okay, it's, like, not what I pictured, but look how happy he is, and look how beautiful their wedding photos are.
Oh my gosh.
I'll cry right now.
They're
like,
gorgeous.
literally.
Spencer was best man.
I know.
Great.
Okay. So
See, we cry over real people too. Like,
yeah.
no problem.
Yeah, it's okay as long
I cry
as
over
in the end
Tyler and Jenna Joseph's wedding pictures all
which
the time.
is fine because in the end you're trying to support those people instead of forcing your own idea of how they should live their life on others. And isn't that what we're always so against? And it's like someone's like, it's not okay to be gay, and it's like, well, you're forcing your ideas onto someone else. And it's like, I want everyone to be gay. And it's like, what are we doing here?
Down with cis.
Yeah, down with
Super
cis.
counterintuitive.
Jeez.
Like,
yeah, that's a whole nother podcast, the Down with Cis podcast. That's going to be a thing for sure. But so forcing these ideas onto people just says a lot, like when they find the fan fiction and it's super sexual, it's like you're kind of just saying like, I see you as a sexual object.
Right.
I see you as a toy to play with. And maybe that's somewhat okay when it's fictional characters who don't have any say in that, who aren't going to be offended because they don't exist. But when it goes to the actors, when it goes to people in bands, when it goes to musicians, when it goes to actual living people who have an internet connection and can find that, that's where I gotta draw the line.
I read a thing with J.K. Rowling where she said, with people in reference to Dreary, how people want it to be a thing, and she more or less said, she's like, they're made up, and like I came up with what I wanted their ending to be.
Yeah.
You can believe whatever you want to.
Yeah.
And so like you said, when it's a fictional character, it's not necessarily that bad. But when you push it into real life, that's where we run into problems.
That's where the issues are. So, obviously we don't like real person slash, but in slash itself, why? So it's very popular to begin with. So on AO3, stories that involve male-male pairings are the most popular, around 430,000, more than double the number for het pairings, for heterosexual pairings.
Jeez.
And female slash femme slash is a small segment on Archive on Our Own. It only has about 1/10 as many as stories as male. Wow.
That's
Numbers.
That's
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. It's just like, why? Why does so
Right.
much exist? I made a point on the podcast where we specifically talked just fan fiction, not so much as why fan fiction. But I think there is a good point to fan fiction. It's creating representation where it doesn't exist. It's being able to be like, what if this character was gay? What if this character was trans? And writing that story, and there's no one there to say, no, you can't do that.
Right.
Because it's not getting approved. It's not, Hollywood's not being like, okay, is this going to make us any money, though? There's not that door you have to go through. But my question is, do you think that Slash, then, is born from poorly written female characters? Because a lot of the times there's that love interest, but they are, instead, people are wanting main character guy to get with best friend and not love interest girl, to put in really blunt terms.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely, like, kind of possible because, like, when, like you said, they're just, like, the love interest is so boring, and then you see these two male characters who have, like, this dynamic backstory, and they, like, interact so well, and you're like, well, he has nothing with her. Like, why would I care about that? Like, it kind of might just start from the fact that people don't know how to write women. Or at least Hollywood people don't know how to write
Yeah.
That might be one of the main reasons for like why people ship John Locke so much.
Right.
Because it's like those are the two characters that you spend the most time with and you know the most about, and you see their relationship, like how they interact with one another the most out of any other two characters. So like, yeah, there are, and I think there even are well-written female characters on Sherlock. Like,
I think so.
I think Irene Adler is a beautifully written character. I think Stephen Moffat did a great job with Scandal in Belgravia. I love the character of Molly Hooper. I think she's great. Even the, I'm not going to remember her name, but she was like the maid of honor for Mary, and like had a fake thing with Sherlock for one episode in series 3.
I don't remember her name.
Don't remember
but
her name either.
That girl.
Like, she wasn't around a whole lot, and yeah, her relationship with Sherlock was fake, but at least, like, I thought she was an interesting character. I think Mary's an interesting character. But, like, I understand we fundamentally understand the relationship between Sherlock and John, because, first of all, that's the relationship that drives the entire show, and second, like, it's introduced in the first season and is the centerpiece of the narrative.
Yeah.
So it's just easier to ship that. In a way, that can kind of explain Wincest, but still that's not okay because they're brothers.
Incest isn't, yeah. There's a cest here.
It's the, like,
No
we
cest.
know how these characters, even Destiel, like, we know how these characters interact with one another, whereas, like, there aren't a whole lot of well-written female characters on Supernatural, so it's hard to ship either Sam or Dean with a female character, because usually they're dead by the end of the episode.
I was about to say.
Or they're too old for them.
That is their curse on Supernatural.
That's what happens.
I thought there was an interesting point from one writer, said it's easier to write dudes being ugly and real when you get to see that on the show in the first place. Because the most complicated characters I can think of are often male. Yeah. I think that's just kind of the world we live in, media-wise, at the moment. Women are extreme.
The majority of our protagonists are male.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be complicated.
Like, in reality, women are extremely complicated and have depth. People,
right.
Yeah,
Humans
that's
are
the
complex
thing.
Things.
Is everything keeps coming down to getting hampered by gender. It's this wall that prevents having complicated characters that identify as female in Hollywood because that doesn't sell as much. Or there's not enough female writers to do so, and they can't get to where they need to because they're female. Feminism, guys. Woo. Believe in it. Love it. But, yeah.
I think, like, something I've noticed in, like, a lot of times for Hollywood romance is, like, a big part of the men is, like, they have all this like walls up and like their masculinity is blocking their emotions. And kind of an interesting part of a relationship is seeing them take that down and open up. And a lot of times women are already like that, like in Hollywood, they just let their emotions flow. And so I think kind of like you said, like it's more interesting to see two men let their emotions down and open up to each other. And so like just because, again, Hollywood men don't know how to write a woman that's just as complex as a man.
Right.
It's just it's more interesting of a story when there's two men.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because there's like jokes that run around on Tumblr especially where it's like talking about like gay ships where it's like they're both so miserable and emotionally constipated and they don't know their feelings, and like that's part of like the attractiveness to it is that like it's frustrating that they're not together, but there's the sight that if they were to be able to process their emotions like women stereotypically are able to, then they would just do it.
Yeah.
They would just be together.
And that completely negates that, like, women can also be, like, emotionally frustrated.
Right.
Can any of us really deal with our emotions?
No.
That's just
Never.
the thing is that there are, like, all sorts of relationships across the, like, gender and sexuality scale that are full of emotional frustration. Like, no one actually knows what it is that they're feeling. We're all trying to figure this out together.
We're all trying really hard. It's hard.
It's hard, okay?
It's difficult. But as much as this can serve to be cathartic to women who are wanting to see their favorite characters, they're wanting to see more representation, they're wanting to see genuine relationships, sometimes this is kind of backfires. So especially in fiction, depending on the skill of the writer, sometimes things are just impossible, whether that's impossible because of relationships already established, like incest, let's not touch that, maybe. There should be a line.
Yeah.
But there's also, even if it's totally plausible that they're together, there's some anatomical impossibilities. Oftentimes, there's a lot of realities that are skipped in writing smut. I've seen, and that's kind of just become an in-joke and a trope that people have accepted. I won't get into huge detail with that. I will leave that to the imagination. But there's also the argument that, like, slash porn is better than, like, what you would read in 50 Shades of Grey, because 50 Shades of Grey is so poorly
everything's
written.
better.
50 Shades of Grey is not a good example.
Or, like,
It's
pulpy
trash.
romance novels.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly agree with that people who are putting their free time into writing fan fiction can be really amazing writers, and it's almost as if they're sometimes have more motivation to produce quality content because there's just so much out there that it's just nestled in, and sometimes they're doing the exact same trope over and over. The coffee shop AU, look at these characters meeting in a coffee shop, isn't that super cute? I've read that I've read that like 500 times, but I have put the time in to read that 500 times because different authors can achieve different things. So
And I
props
think,
for that.
like, slash authors, they're utilizing already well-developed and well-loved characters.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, for authors who want to write romance novels or crappy Twilight fan fiction,
They have to build.
then they have to create their own characters, and if they don't have the capacity to do that, then
We end up with
like,
50 Shades
we
of
end
Grey.
up with 50 Shades of Grey. Whereas, like, you can write a quick little one-shot that's really cute between two characters that you already know and love because they've been, you know, on television for a really long time, or are part of a book series that you grew up with.
Yeah, you go in knowing what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. So beyond people getting angry at, like, actual women, there's also just the, like, attitude then that women are bad. Because I remember specifically in the days of my dreary fan fiction writing, I hated Jenny Weasley. There was no reason for me to hate Jenny Weasley other than she married Harry Potter and Draco couldn't. I had like a very like anti-feminist attitude during that time of my life because I was so kind of anti-woman. I was like only the guys, only the gay guys. They're the only ones for me.
That works in Supernatural as well. Is like that any woman that Dean Winchester sleeps with, like, is automatically hated because
I'm glad she's gonna die soon.
Because it's not
Yeah,
cast.
because she will.
the character of Lisa, I liked the character of Lisa, and the sub-story between Lisa, Dean, and Ben I thought was really cute and a good way to freaking end season 5. They should have just ended it there. I still love the show, but like
beating this dead horse.
The end of season 5 was phenomenal. But people get upset at that character. Any other character that like Sam and Dean have any sort of remote interest in, it's
Right.
like, no, not allowed. And again, that reflects on the actual people, that people get upset at Daniil for marrying Jensen Ackles.
Right.
And I'm like, they're happy and in love. Like, that's
She's
not
making
okay.
him happy. You
Also,
want him
you
to be
would
happy.
too.
Yeah, you would too. And then you just become that woman that everyone apparently hates because they're evil for
Exactly.
getting in the way of the ship. Yeah, so there's a lot of problems within this community. There's
Yeah.
a lot of problems with attitude. There's a lot of problem with execution. There's a lot of problems that wind up affecting other people. But
Super quick.
yeah,
Kind of going along with all this, a problem. Something that I think is annoying, and I actually have a quote from Miranda Popke from one of the articles we had, is she said, when a woman deliberately queers the slightest, most traditionally masculine figures, Captain America or Captain Kirk, Green Bay Packers, my phone's going off.
your
quarterback
phone gets,
yes,
yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, even Sherlock Holmes, there's an added electric friction. And she just goes on to talk about how, like, when you can write about that in fan fiction, it's, like, shocking and new and,
You
like...
can turn the most masculine.
Yeah, and so
into gay.
what it seems like to me is less like I want representation, more I want shock value for my fan fiction. I want something different, which I think's kind of lame. It's
Yeah.
not real representation. It's a plot
cop-out.
device. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a cop-out.
That's what a lot of this is that the women we're talking about, and even there's men involved in this, definitely. Fan fiction can do appeal to anyone,
Yeah.
but who wind up adopting this attitude aren't good allies
No.
because
No.
they're not working toward that representation. They're not maybe even working toward, I'll venture to say, because I remember seeing a post one time, like equal rights. They were like, well, now that it's more accepted, it's not as exciting because it's not super taboo. And it's like,
ridiculous.
wow.
God, why did you guys have to get equality? I'm bored
Yeah.
now.
It was specifically
Now
someone...
this makes sense, dang it.
Yeah, it was specifically
This is
like
shocking.
someone was writing about how reading like Sherlock Holmes fan fiction from like the time that the source material was originally created was more exciting than the BBC series, because the BBC series is like other people see that they're gay, done, whereas in the Victorian era then it's like it's its own big deal and issue and problem.
And that's why you see a lot of fan fiction fall into the trope of, like, they have to run away together, or one of them has, like, a disapproving parent, or just something along those
Right.
lines of, like, the tropes that, like, it's not okay that they're gay together.
It still needs to be something that's taboo.
Yeah, that's
even though
like
increasingly that's becoming the opposite.
yeah,
Right.
and
in
then
real
that's
life.
just still fetishizing that.
Yeah.
It's still being like, oh, that's great that your parents disapprove, and it's like,
so
no.
cool.
Yeah, it's using the characters and their sexuality, or even that's not their canon sexuality. They're, what you're forcing that sexuality into, like, as just a plaything.
Right.
Is turning them into a toy so that you can have the story that you want. And I get that that's kind of what fan fiction is. You turn your characters into action figures so that you can reenact whatever scenario you want. But,
You
like,
just press them together.
yeah.
Now kiss.
Now kiss.
But I feel like forcing characters or real people into certain sexualities in order just to, like, fuel your own fantasy, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely when it's real people. Or I don't care if it's like a very beloved fictional character. Do what you want with Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. I'm not.
Please don't actually.
But please,
Stuffed animals of my childhood. No.
but please don't actually. But it's not necessarily hurting anyone. You're not
Right.
contacting
Yeah.
the creator of Winnie the Pooh and being like, you need to make this happen. Like, I'm fairly sure that's not happening. I should not say that for sure, because
I'm
who
sure
knows?
it
I would
is.
Who
hope
knows?
not. My
But
gosh.
yeah, taboo is one of the reasons, like, why? Why do this? Why put your time into this? Why become enamored in this? Which I should preface everything. I should have said it at the beginning. This was me for a very long time. I was one of these people who this was a big part of my life. And that's not to say that I won't keep reading fan fiction at some point. I have my ships, but I know they're not real. I know that no matter how many letters people write to Jeff Davis, Steric isn't going to be a thing.
Right.
I'm resigned to that. But because I don't take it to the point of being like Tyler Hoechlin and Dylan O'Brien need to kiss already, that doesn't hurt anyone because I'm not there. I'm only in Styles and Derek need to kiss, and no one else needs to know about that. But so definitely the taboo. But what do you guys think about one of the reasons maybe why this is a thing is that this is an avenue for women, especially young women, who the only idea of like porn for them is like stereotypical girl pleasing a guy kind of porn, that this is an avenue into making something specifically catered to women, which is rarely seen in the porn industry. Let's be real. Yeah. So that doorway, what do we think about that doorway?
I think it's cool because, like, I think porn's great, especially when it's, like, something to help you explore your sexuality. And, like, for men, it's kind of easy because you can watch this and, like, now you know things. Not really, but...
Yeah, not really at all.
You think you do.
These are not lessons.
You think you do.
Friends.
But the problem with that is, like you said, it doesn't necessarily work for girls because in porn, girls are just like a tool. And so when you kind of take the woman out of the equation and now it's two men and a young girl can look at this as just sex and she can kind of explore her idea of sex and sexuality, I think that can be useful. Like, yeah.
I 100%. I'm not into porn. Every now and then, maybe I'll read like a smutty fanfic, but it's not. It's not my thing. And like I completely understand that of like taking the woman out of the equation would allow a young girl to figure out like what sex is or how certain things work. But it's like for most people, maybe not most, but for a lot of people, like porn is a lot of like fueling a fantasy.
Absolutely.
And I don't see how a female could necessarily look at a gay relationship and have that same fantasy when like her gender/sexuality is not necessarily involved.
Right.
Because it's like great that you know how like gay sex operates, but that still doesn't let you know how like if you're a heterosexual young girl, like, or even a lesbian young girl, like, and there's not a whole lot of femme/slash out there, like, that you may not still understand how, like, what you, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
No.
I feel like
you.
it definitely, like you said, you're not getting the idea of, like, how it works for you. I think what it encourages more is young men especially are encouraged to talk about sex and sexual feelings, and young girls aren't. And I think more than anything, it allows young girls to open up about the fact that, like, yeah, I like the idea of sex, like, even if it's not with me.
More of a conceptual thing than necessarily,
It opens up
like,
a dialogue.
Practice. Yeah, okay. I completely get that.
Yeah, because I shouldn't even necessarily have framed this as young women, because oftentimes, especially in the articles we read, there's older women who then discover slash fiction or smutty slash fiction and realize that there's something that pleases them. Like, there's the unfortunate fact that women can go for a very, very long time in their life without knowing what gets them off, or having other people know that they may be in a relationship know what gets them off, and then there's just no pleasure. There's no frankly, there's no orgasm for women for a very long time. That's possible.
That's so
whereas
depressing.
I know, right? So I can definitely see this being like kind of like a gateway into being like, oh, there's something that conceptually I like. Yeah. I like that you use the word conceptually, like is able to.
Not necessarily in practice, obviously, because
right.
Gay sex isn't going to help you in straight sex.
Right. I mean, I'm sure there might be someone out there that's their kink. We don't kink shame here.
No.
Unless it's Wincest.
Unless it's Wincest. We're kink shaming Wincest here on the Coven.
Stop it. And then people
Just
who are
stop
like,
it.
Stop.
People who are like, jar pad. It's a great bromance. I love that Jared and Jensen are like practically brothers. Their children call each other uncle. That's adorable.
Aw.
But like, don't be hating Daniil and Jen because Jensen and Jared aren't married to each other. You're garbage people. Stop it.
You're garbage people.
I'm really upset when people do that.
I feel it. So, this last thing I want to explore here, because it was really interesting to me, and I never had thought about it before, that maybe women imagining these relationships, becoming obsessed with these relationships, could be a window into equality in a relationship. I really liked the Tumblr user Uclase, which I'm pretty sure I've seen them on my dash before. I'm pretty sure they're a big Destiel writer. I'll admit it. I shipped it. No longer.
It's okay.
But
I won't like shame anyone.
We've
for
been
shipping
secretly like
Destiel.
kink shaming daily this whole
oh my gosh,
time.
guys.
I just personally don't ship Destiel.
Right. But so she said, presumably I shouldn't presume gender, but anyway, said, imagine being in a relationship in which you are treated like an equal, consciously and unconsciously, sexually, emotionally, socially, romantically, and without being bound by gender expectations, without the risk of pregnancy or having your reproductive rights taken away from you, without feelings of inferiority, without being mistreated or neglected because men don't understand your body and can't be bothered to learn how to give you pleasure or that you even deserve pleasure. Girls aren't making them gay. Girls are fantasizing about being equal.
I definitely think this is an interesting point that I would not have thought of.
No.
That the epitome of an equal relationship is a gay relationship. And I understand it to an extent, but like, I don't think that helps anything.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to help create equality between men and women in relationships. That's not going to start a dialogue anywhere.
Yeah.
If you want to move forward to anything, I definitely think it's an interesting take on why straight women are obsessed with gay men relationships. Of that, like, why can't I just have a relationship with like this? See, they see eye to eye and they get along and there's no like certain expectations about things, even though people still force gender expectations onto gay couples.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
that's a thing
Yeah.
that happens.
Yeah.
Who's
Which
the
one's the
girl?
one?
Yeah, which one's the girl?
Yeah.
Like, that's definitely a thing that people force onto homosexual relationships. Like, even in lesbian relationships. Like,
Yeah.
you have,
Who's the man?
yeah.
Right.
And that's, you still binding people by these gender norms. And in the end, like, that doesn't, you aren't moving forward. If it's supposed to be about, this fetish is about achieving equality, I don't think it necessarily accomplishes anything. I understand the reasoning behind it, but I don't think there's no end game.
Yeah. I like the concept of this post. Like, I feel like it's a really good idea, but I'm pressed to believe that the majority of slash writers are writing this in a way of fantasizing about equality and not about fetishizing gay men. And I almost like, I even just like the idea that I'm a little like, I feel a little like gross about the idea that like gay men are like tools in your writing to fantasize about an equal relationship, when why would you not write a straight, like you said, like a straight relationship that's equal?
Right. It's kind of gets down to like, would you, because typically women who are into slash, I would say, are into Tumblr and thus by default are into social justice. I feel that that's a safe assumption to kind of make.
Yeah.
But there's all kinds though. But but then they object to the sexualization and objectification of women. But then they
It's the
put
same
that
thing.
onto, it becomes very cyclical. It becomes like this vicious cycle of someone's going to get sexualized and objectified. And I don't know if we have to sit back and be like, yep, that's going to be a thing. I think that we should kind of get to a point where we're a lot of the things that we've been talking about can just be solved in a post-gender society.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
Yeah.
there's
in
no
reality, that's what this boils down to.
Yeah.
Is that, like...
It's not even a sexuality problem. It's a gender problem.
It's a gender
Right.
problem.
Right. Yeah, as soon as you take gender out of the equation, what are we dealing with here?
Yeah.
Nothing except for don't yell at people for
Yeah.
loving certain people. And we've talked about that before several times, you know. Generally don't do that. Like, no matter what we're
That's a
dealing
good
with.
rule.
Yeah, unless we're talking about incest.
Unless it's incestual, then
Yeah,
you're a
yeah.
garbage person.
Garbage person. But
Everyone needs to be consenting and everyone needs to not be related. That's all we ask.
there we
Two
go.
criteria. Come
There we go.
on. And also, like, legal.
Oh.
No children. And then we're good. Like,
Good.
3 criteria. That's
Yeah.
all we have.
I agree. I think that people should be allowed to pursue these interests and allowed
Yeah.
to ship who they want to ship,
Mm-hmm.
as long as it doesn't hurt other people, especially real people. I can't say necessarily if doing this hurts the people who are shipping like gay ships. Does that hurt themselves? Does that stunt them as a person or as a person who wants to pursue relationships even?
I think depending on how hardcore you take your ship.
Right.
Because, like, I have my ships. Most of them are canon, because I'm a writer myself, so I like to give credit to the writer's capabilities to make their own pairings.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the ships that I have across a variety of media are canon. And, like, but I don't, like, live by my ships. I'm like, when I watch a TV show or I read a book, I'm like, oh, they're so precious, and I'm happy for that. And I think that allows me I can take aspects of relationships that I've seen across fictional media, know that they're fictional,
Right.
but also recognize that it's like, that's how I would like a relationship of mine to be, potentially.
Yeah.
Like in any variety of things, even friendships, like seeing friendships across, like Harry Potter. Like I aspire to have, or even real people, I aspire to have a friendship like Tyler, Joseph, and Josh Dunn. I think their
Yes.
friendship is amazing.
So pure.
And like I aspire to have a friend that is like that to me. In a way, I already do. My sister and I are basically Tyler and Josh.
Aww.
Oh, yeah, look at us. My sister's my best friend. We're so precious.
Do not ship, though.
Don't ship,
Don't do it.
please. No, God,
I've been
no.
writing so much Byte fan fiction lately. It's
Oh, no.
insane.
But it's like, sometimes people will take their ships, regardless of if it's a slash ship or not, and hold on to that so much that it's like, it is the perfect thing. And hold it at such a higher standard that all of a sudden that their expectations of relationships become stunted.
Right.
And I think that's when it becomes detrimental, because like if you have a ship and you can look at it and be like, this is adorable, I like this aspect of it, and you can pinpoint that aspect of it, and then recognize that this is fictional and that this is something created by someone else's mind, then you can move forward in your own, like, trying to find a relationship or the way that you interact with other people. But it's the moment where you're like, this is perfect and nothing else can beat this ever. Like, my life will never equate to the ship that is this. No, then you're holding yourself
I can
back.
never
Yeah.
be a gay monster hunter and angel.
I mean, well, maybe there are some limits that you just have to accept for yourself. But
I've been trying so hard.
But yeah, I agree. I think that everyone needs to just take a dose of realism for their
Yes.
expectations and respect for the people that they are writing about or the actual gay people in the world.
Yeah,
Maybe a
that's
little
a
bit.
thing.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
That these people exist.
Yeah.
Have
That
feelings.
because just because you're like, oh, I love gay guys, I read gay fan fiction all the time, that
No.
doesn't mean you're being a good ally. And I think everyone needs to be a good ally.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Agreed.
especially if you're going to like essentially profit for your own pleasure off of gay people.
If you like the idea of gay people, you need to like real gay people too.
Yeah. Or
That's the
like
thing that
the
should
idea
happen.
of them having rights and equality.
No, it
Just-
makes our fan fiction boring.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, this has been an exciting one shot of the Coven.
One shot.
Yeah. Man, I'm trying to like remember all the references. Like, what would we like tag this episode? Is this like Hurt Comfort?
I think so.
Is-
Something along those
Probably.
lines.
This could be like a Hurt Comfort episode of the Coven. Thank you all for joining us. I have been your host, Daily Wilhelm, the Witch of the Wavelengths. Joining me today was
Matthew Yap, the Witch of the Speed Force.
and
Sarah James, the sorceress of the sound waves.
thank you guys for
Yay.
joining me. You
Yay.
can check out all our other wonderful podcast content here at bytebsu.com or on our SoundCloud at Ball State Daily. Be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes because that would be really cool. Also, Ball State Daily.
Also YouTube.
Now on YouTube.
Yes.
At Byte BSU. You can also check out all our social media feeds at Byte BSU on Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
send us something. Send us your favorite ship. Tell us.
Wait.
Send us your favorite good pure ship.
Pure ship. Send us the purest ship there is. And we'll be the judge of that. Thank you all for joining us tonight.